Hello everybody, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about knitting in elastic and how to use it with crochet. This knitting in elastic is different than elastic thread. The thread will have some sort of fabric around it, it'll be thicker. This knitting in elastic is only elastic. It's almost invisible once you've worked it into your project, and it can give you, it's very, very stretchy, and you can make projects that are very stretchy with it. It is just a little bit tricky, a little bit of a technique to use it, and so that's why I wanted to do a video on how to use it. Normally when I'm working with it, I am sitting down and I am putting it between my knees to keep it from spinning like this. So I would put it between my knees, and then as you're working with it, you would manually give yourself slack. You would manually be pulling the thread around to give yourself slack, to work a few stitches to make sure that your piece is stretchy. But because I cannot do that in the video and have the video be something that you could effectively watch, I'm going to be kind of reading this thing. I have this clamp here, and so I'm gonna put this in the clamp so that so that it holds it kind of similar to how I would be holding it if I were sitting. Get that really tight. So this holds it so that I can pull it tight. It won't spin, and I can manually give myself slack when I'm needing more. So the way that the elastic works is that you want to keep the elastic tight, but you want to work your yarn as you normally would. And you also want to use maybe a little bit bigger, size or two bigger hook than you would normally use. The reason is because the elastic is going to make your fabric scrunch in, and it will only stretch out as far as your yarn will let it. So for this video, I'm using this beautiful cotton. It's called Comfy Worsted by To Crochet, and it's made of cotton. It's mostly cotton with just a little bit of acrylic to kind of give it a little bit more longevity, longer wear, but it feels like super soft cotton. And I love this color. It's called Flamingo. So you would start your project, and the thread is worked within your stitches. So you're going to hold the two together. I know that it's really hard to see this. I'm going to try to do this as best as I can. So you're going to hold them together. Start with your slip stitch if that's the project. Now this is not a real project. I'm just showing you how to work it. Okay, so I've got my yarn and the thread on my hook. So I'm going to make sure that I don't have any slack on this. I need to pull that away a little bit more so it's not unraveling itself. So I'm going to hold my yarn kind of to the side of this so that they're kind of separated. And I'm going to hold them both the way I would normally. Now I'm going to show you a second way after this way, but this is what I have found to be the easiest way. Now remember, when you're working your piece, your thread, you're going to hold it between your knees to keep it from spinning. This is just here so that I can do the video for you guys. Normally, like I said, I would hold that between my knees as I'm sitting and working. So it keeps it at like a nice, you want to make sure that it's nice and tight. And then you want to make sure that you're giving yourself slack on your yarn. So unravel a little bit of your yarn. But this is nice and tight. So hold your yarn like you normally would. Then you're going to work 3 or 4 stitches, maybe even 5, and then see how that just totally scrunches in. Because the elastic is causing it to scrunch, but my big hook is allowing the stitches to stretch out further. So now I feel like, okay, I've worked enough stitches on that. It's a little bit too tight. You don't want it to be way tight, because then when you have the garment or whatever it is that you're making, you want it to kind of stretch out when you're wearing it so that it looks nicer. You don't want it so scrunched that it still looks scrunched when you're wearing it. or using it. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to give myself one turn, and then I'm going to work a couple more stitches. And then once you can feel this getting a little bit too tight and it's not giving anymore, that's when you know you need to unravel it one time. I find that unraveling it once, working 3 to 4 stitches, unraveling it again, that seems to be the best method. If you don't want to stop and have to unravel it every 3 stitches, because it does kind of mess up your rhythm, you can unravel it more times, but I feel like you'll have a less consistent stretch. So you'll kind of have a couple stitches will be like way scrunched and way stretchy when you're getting to the end, and then when you give yourself more slack, you'll have a couple stitches that will be less stretchy. So I definitely recommend the time-consuming method of working 2 or 3 stitches and then giving yourself 1 or 2 unwraps. So the chain is just a example, and you can see just how like beautifully stretchy that is. So this works for baby sandals. I have a pattern for baby sandals that uses this so that they slide right on baby's feet. This would work great for headbands. And you can see that, yes, if you look very, very closely, you can see it in there. But if you don't, you know, if you look at it normally, it's invisible. You can't see it. So there's lots of really fun ideas of using this to make your projects really stretchy. And so the method would be just the same for working something different than a chain. You would just continue crocheting as you normally would, and just when you're feeling like, oh, that's really, really pulling tight, obviously a double crochet and a single crochet will use more elastic than a chain will, and so you might find that you need to unravel it, you know, give yourself a turn of elastic, extra elastic, after only 1 stitch. But yeah, so like I said, it's gonna look really scrunched, just like elastic does, like in sewing and other projects. It's gonna look really scrunched at first, but once you're wearing whatever you have made, or it's fitted to whatever it's meant to fit, it will stretch out really nicely. And the wonderful thing about this elastic is that it's not super tight. So even it just has a very soft, buttery elastic texture to it. So it's not going to be like digging in the skin or whatever it is that you're working. It's going to be just like a very gentle, it's very stretchy, but yet it's very soft at the same time. Yeah, so again, you would just work the stitches the same way that you would crochet normally and have that gorgeous stretchy texture. The second way that I kind of, there's another way that you can do it, and this does not involve holding it. I don't necessarily recommend this way just because it's harder on your hands, but I just wanted to share it just in case that it does actually work better for you. So in this case, it would just be sitting there, and you would start like you normally would. You got your 2 pieces, and you're going to slip knot, okay, so you're going to keep this kind of up and out of the way, because in this method you're going to have to hold both of them at a different tension. So this you can actually give yourself slack because you're going to hold the tension when you're holding it. I'm just going to set it right there so that it doesn't roll. So let's see, I want to make sure my yarns aren't twisted. I have this one on top, this one on bottom. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the yarn. This yarn needs to be kept at a tension that you would normally keep it at. So you're going to hold it how you would normally hold your yarn, at a normal tension. This, however, you're going to need to hold tight. So the best way to do that is to pull it like this, and then you're gonna have to keep it however you hold your yarn. This is gonna have to be tight, this will have to be loose. Like it's a little bit, takes a little bit more practice this way, and so that's why I definitely recommend just holding it between your knees. But this way you don't need to stop and give yourself extra elastic when you're working. When you're doing this, you can work continuously because you're holding the tension right here. And so you would work like this. It helps to keep these two separated, like I said before. And I feel like you can kind of get a more consistent stretch when you're working it this way as well. So this yarn is just sliding through my fingers. I'm really just holding it there. It's kind of in between the space of my fingers. And this one I'm pinching really hard to make sure that I keep tension on that. So you would work like you normally would, just making sure. And if you feel like you have lost stretch on that, you can take your hand and pull it out so that you got a nice tension on that. And so you just work like this, and then the yarn itself would just, the elastic would just turn as you just feed it out as you're working, because you're holding the tension with your fingers. I find I have less stretch this way simply because it's a little bit taxing on your fingers to really hold that yarn or the elastic super tight so that you have a really nice stretch. So I think this would work for a project that you don't need to be as stretchy, but I find that the stretch is more consistent when done this way. So that's why I wanted to show it to you. So you can try both methods and see which one you like better. And so give it a try. This does take practice. Just let yourself feel it, let yourself try it out. It's going to take some practice to figure out how you like to hold it, how you can get the consistent elastic. But it's really fun to have such a squishy, stretchy fabric. I know that Clover makes a brand of this. I bought it on Amazon a few years ago. It's less shiny and it looks more like it's almost opaque, where this is like see-through. It's hard to really describe, but that one is great. I liked using that one. I just can't find it anymore. I can't find it on Amazon anymore. And so I ordered this one to try it out if I liked it. It's called Prim, I think is how you pronounce it. Prym. And I also got it on Amazon, but it's not on Prime. You'll have to pay shipping. And you can also get it on their website, prym.com. So it may be a little bit of a hassle to get it, but this one roll will last you a long time. So especially if you're doing smaller projects. So like I'm thinking like, you could use this to make the brim of a hat really stretchy. You're working it and stretching it out as you're working it, and so it does last a long time. But yeah, I love making projects with this stretchiness. It's great. So give it a try, and I'm gonna be having some fun projects using it in the near future. And I will have a link to this as well that you can find in the description, so you can find it. And also make sure you check out this deliciously soft cotton yarn that's by We Crochet. As you guys know, that I've been an ambassador for them because I love their yarn. I love that they have so many choices, so many colors, so many lines of yarn, and it's affordable but also very, very luxurious and nice. So I hope you enjoy making some squishy elastic projects, and thanks for watching.